I want to open a really big space for us. This feels like it's marking a new chapter, a new body of work, a new way of opening doors for each other, a new way of exploring inner self, a new way of accessing parts of ourselves that we've maybe not been able to access. A new way of, I always like this one, going in through like this sneaky back door. If you're new to rewilding, we do lots and lots of that. So lots of accessing deeper realms, more hidden realms within, not necessarily shadow work or shadowy realms, but also like places that we just don't always tap into on a day-to-day basis. Our lives are full. Many of our lives are so full, and we don't always have a space where we can just like relax and be, and we can open up different wisdom centers of our body, and we can dedicate like a 1 hour space to journey. That's what I want to do in these lives going forward. I don't care what the past lives were. But these lives from this point on, these lives on YouTube, these lives that are open to men and women, these lives that are kind of moving under the name Sabrina Lynn versus Rewilding for Women, it's a beautiful body of work, and I love that body of work, and we're going to keep doing Rewilding for Women retreats and programs and things like that. But this is a different space, and we're going to kind of co-create the space together. This live feels like it is the first one. The very first one in this new space, honoring this. I'm sitting, right? I don't sit for lives. That's why I might throw this chair away in a minute. But I really want to set that tone and set that stage and set that space. And there's my dad. I knew you were going to be here, Dad. I was feeling you. My dad just left good afternoon. I was totally feeling Dad coming on to the live today. So, just marking this new chapter. It's a new chapter. It's kind of a new era for me, for rewilding, for our community, for you being here too. I never see things as coincidental. So it's not a coincidence that maybe this is your first live or this is your 100th live, but it's just not a coincidence that you're here. Even if you're here for 5 minutes or an hour, or you're here on the replay, or you can only hang out for 10 minutes, it's not a coincidence. So with that, I'm going to invite you to, this could suck. I'm going to invite you to like claim this, what do we have left together? 50 minutes. So to claim it and to make this 50 minutes your own. And if that means that you can't hang out for 50 minutes and you want to watch the replay in its entirety to be able to really claim it and to go into it, if we don't claim it and we don't step in and we're only like half-assing it. I mean, we're only half-assing it. There's only one ear for the truths to access, or the wisdom to access, or whatever it is that unfolds in our circle to access. There's only one ear or one eye, and you'll miss it. Like, you'll miss the deeper meanings of things. You'll miss the mysteries. You'll miss the parts of you that are like dying to light up, or that are dying to awaken, or that are dying to shift or evolve or transform. So this is on you. Like, it's an invitation, but it's on you. Like, we all have to make that choice to, all right, cool, I'm gonna explore this. And I'm gonna explore this fully. Like, if I'm gonna spend my time with Sabrina in this sacred space, church place, deep inner diving place, wild place, whatever this place is, the one word that I will really hold truly is sacred. That's one word. All the rest of the words, I don't really care what the descriptors are, but this sacred place. If I'm gonna spend my time stepping into this sacred place, I'm gonna do it wholeheartedly. I'm gonna really do it. That's where you will get the most from this. Otherwise, I'm just a talking head while you're driving your car, right? So whatever that means for you, if that means to take a really big, deep breath into your heart space and just let your chest expand And then take a really big deep breath into your belly space and just let your belly expand. And then kind of deepening your roots, like feeling connected to the earth, like get in your body, we have these wisdom centers in our body that most of us rarely turn on, rarely operate from. And I'm kind of inviting all of you to switch on, right? All of you to switch on, not just this limited logical brain. I love logical brain. I was a scientist for a good long time. I love logic. I use it every day. I think it's beautiful. I'm not poo-pooing it by any means, but I'm just inviting us to be more. There's so much more to human potential that we don't tap into. There's so much more to our wisdom, to our inner knowings, to our intuition, to our guidance system, to how it is that we perceive things, how it is that we process things, how it is that we make decisions. So how many of us are, I guess, just a moment now that we've committed to going in, like if we're gonna do it, let's do it. Now just a minute to like get super real with yourself, like super real. If we're going into truths today, that's kind of our topic or theme. Who knows where within truth we're gonna flow to, but if that's what we're going into, like, let's start off with just a quick practice. And if you don't like the word practice, think of exercise or exploration or something like that. But just feel into, like, if I'm gonna be so real with myself, where am I at in my life right now? Just like, and just whatever comes. And if you want to share in the comments, I think it's beautiful when we all share with each other. Lots of times when you share something, another person in our circle, it opens up something for them and they're like, ah, me too. Like, it is chaotic. I am confused. I am moving into a new chapter, or I'm on fire, like all that fire that we were talking about. But just that moment of like reflection, just a moment, like while we sit in this space. And if you feel into our space and you feel into, this is like a truth bombing space. And it's you just kind of holding yourself to the fire of truth. Like just hold yourself to the fire of truth. And it's okay, whatever your truth is. That's totally beautiful. The thing that's not beautiful is when we hide it from ourselves. The thing that's not beautiful is when we sweep it under the carpet, we pretend it's something else, we cover it up, we deny it, we anesthetize it, we avoid it, we ignore it. I mean, that's just like cause for problems down the track, right? Or we then make weird decisions in our lives, or we kind of feel out of alignment, or off path or off mission. I'm gonna just read some of these that have been shared, and I won't read names either, so just know that I also won't read names because sometimes we take clips and we'll share them on Instagram, so I'm gonna work hard in this part to not read names. I want to be more, give more to my man, blossoming after long healing. I'm feeling frazzled all the time, crossroads. So feeling that crossroads too. Typical fear, shame. I feel like I'm floating in everything all at once. Igniter phase, all over the place with my emotions, knowns, unknowns, feeling stuck, discovering all the places I need to heal. Uncovering deep fear, slightly shaken and stirred. Sparkly, big smile on my face. Everything feels new. So here's another really good practice. So since we're exploring inner truths, feel into that level that you just shared from, or you just tapped into. Maybe you didn't share a comment, but you tapped into that level of self. So you just went, okay, where am I at right now? All right, cool. I am in an igniter phase of my life. Great. Or I am emotional and all over the place. Great. Now, you have to get still for this one, and you have to get quiet for this one. So just get still and get quiet. Whatever that means for you, just get still and get quiet. You might have to take a deep breath. You might have to shift your positioning. You might almost like tune out the outside world, and you kind of feel like your awareness or your intention or your focus goes inward a little bit. And then go, okay, if I were to go just a little bit deeper than that place I was just at in myself, what's just a little bit deeper? What's just a little bit deeper? So I was at this place, and then you just like drop one layer deeper or go inward one layer deeper. You just kind of feel yourself like sink in. Martina, deeper level, I'm about to expand. Awesome. So here's a truth that often happens. I love that. That's just kind of sparked a thought. A lot of times there's a surface level, so I'm just going to go off of what Martina shared because it was so beautiful. I said I wasn't going to use names. I'm going to use names, but we will never use clips in like Instagram places or other places with names unless we get your approval for them. So I'm just going to go off of this. Sometimes we'll feel on the surface level like, whoa, life is really chaotic, or I'm really having like a lot of physical sensations, or I'm very confused, or it's hard to, find direction. And then, thank you so much, Martina. I love you, sister. That's beautiful. And then if you go one layer deeper, you can feel into, oh, shit, I'm about to expand. And that's why it doesn't feel like I'm fitting into my life right now, or that's why it's so chaotic, or that's why I can't see. I'm about to expand. I'm like exploding out of the old me. I'm exploding out of my cocoon and getting my wings, becoming the butterfly, right? Like so often. But how many times do we not go into that deeper truth, or we get a sense of it, but we forget it, and then we go back up to the chaos and the fuck, this is insane place. When if we just rested a little bit deeper, we rest in this, okay, that's just like the physical expression of what's going on, or the emotional expression, or how my expansion is manifesting itself in this moment, right? How my expansion or my growth is manifesting itself in this moment. So for me, I'll share a personal example. I don't have to worry about names in this one now. So for me, it's been an extraordinarily physical couple of weeks, like physical things showing up. I had to get a root canal. I've never had a root canal. I had to get like more teeth work. It's physical. This is strange to me. And I, we all know that everything physical is also linked to energetic. So if we just go deeper, so if you take, tooth stuff, okay, that's great. That's the physical manifestation, is the tooth pain. And then that's a truth. I'm at a truth. And it's annoying, it's painful, it's ridiculous, like what? And then if I go a layer deeper, right? I go inward, I get reflective, I get still, I get quiet, I go a layer deeper. Sometimes we have to meditate for a while on this. Sometimes like the truths reveal themselves when they're ready to reveal themselves. But if we go a layer deeper, we start to sit with, oh, okay. And for me, it's a really big piece. All of this physical stuff, most of the physical stuff's happening on the right side of my body. And it's happening, we don't have to get into energetic healing or any of those principles. I'm trained in energetic healing. It's not anything that I teach, or you don't have to believe in energetic healing to be hanging out in our sacred space at all. May or may not be your thing. But for me, I know when I went into my deeper truth, when I sunk in a deeper layer, all of these manifestations, which are true, are residing on top of what for me is like an upgrade to the masculine essence in myself. It's a rewiring of my masculine, an upgrade of my own masculine essence. It's a releasing of any old patterning, old wiring, to do with my masculine essence. And we all have a feminine and a masculine essence. But for me, it was very, 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 very real. And when I started working there, that's when things start to shift and they started to move. And And so I just offer that as another example of accessing deeper inner truths. It's hard to actually even focus there. So here is something to share. Our world pretty much lives surface levelly, right? We and this is, I love our world. I'm also not like poo-pooing our world, but pretty much lives at the physical manifestation of something. Our conversations that we have with others. How is your day? It's pretty messy. I'm emotional today. If we even get there. Or we just say, oh, it's a good day. I'm having a good day. What? Right? Like, so surface. So I love the new poo-pooing term. Thanks, Shay. Just never know how we're going to try to describe stuff here, right? So beautiful beings just came across your page and then click the link and now I'm here. Heck yeah. Welcome, woman. So we spend a lot of time in one layer of truth, one or in a surface level living. We spend a lot of time there. We do. And in order to operate in this world, this is the not poo-pooing part. In order to operate in this world, we have to be able to function in that surface level realm, right? We have to sign leases and sign contracts to buy houses, and we live in a physical world. The mailman comes to I can't start talking on like 8 layers deeper yet. Maybe humanity will evolve to that place where we are just these super vulnerable depth beings of let's live from this place of consciousness, this place of deep, raw, vulnerable, radical truth. Let's do that. We're not there. Maybe. I think in spaces we are there. I know on rewilding retreats, we live there for 4 days, right? Like we're on a retreat, we live there for 4 days. We're in a workshop for 2 days, we live in that space for 2 days. So there are spaces, there are communities where it is living from that level of truth, that level of depth, that level of consciousness, and it becomes the norm. So this is what I'm trying to get at, is to not beat ourselves up for maybe not being able to access these deeper places. It's like riding a bicycle, and we have to learn how to do it. First I need a bike. I can't ride a bike without having a bicycle. So first it's like developing that capacity within ourselves just by practice, just by practicing it, to get deeper and to start to move into a deeper place of, do you see my whole body moves into a different place? So now let's do a body-based practice. I know I said we were going to do some uncommon practices. These might be super common for you, but uncommon was a really fun word that I liked. So just use your body now. Some of us are very, very body-based. Some of us are so embodied. Energy follows physical. Physical follows the energetic. So you can go either direction. You could go energetic first and let the physical follow. You could go physical first, let the energetic follow. So let's just try physical first and then let the energetic follow. So this is another practice around accessing our inner truth. If you were going to, and you can watch my body if that helps, but you may have a very different body-based expression that will help you to access deeper inner truths. But feel into, okay, if my physiology, which is just like positioning of your body, breath of your body, movement of your body, physiology, like the physicalness of your body, if my physiology was going to support me living from a deeper truth, what happens? Just feel in yourself, and I'll tell you what happens in me, just to give you some examples or some different things to touch into or practice with or experiment with or play with or explore in a minute. But let me say those words again. If I were going to live from a deeper truth in myself, what is the position of my body? Where does my focus on my body go? If I were gonna live from my deep truth, If I were going to access my deep truth, do my shoulders roll back? Does my chin move up? Does my head reposition itself? Do I sink back in my posture? Do I sit up straighter? Do I stand taller, right? Does my spine, do I like get a spine suddenly? Do I drop deeper into my hips if I'm gonna really speak from my truth? Sarah, I love that. Tailbone tucks in, right? How many practices teach you that? Like tuck your tailbone in, and sometimes we don't know what the intention is behind it. But if we go, intention is to stand in your truth, and then you let the physical follow the intention. So skip the energetic, let the energetic come last. Or the energetic might come when you hold the intention. So just let it flow however it wants to flow. We're all totally different. So I don't want to say, do this, don't do that, try this, blah, blah, blah. You can experiment on your own with this and what works best for you. But when we're like accessing our deep inner truth, hold that intention. All right, I am going to stand in my truth. Like, ignore the rest of the world. You don't have to think about how hard it is or the fear that comes with it or the people who are going to press up against you. And you can also check your body right now, just as we start talking about all the pushback that comes when we stand in our truth, right? Just check your physiology. What happened? Did your shoulders tuck in? Did you shrink a little bit? Did your spine curve? Did you like falter? Like, did you get butterflies? Like, fuck, I don't want to stand in my truth. Bad shit's gonna happen. It's just a check. This whole thing is an exploration, an exploration into self. The whole thing is we're just exploring. We're playing, we're exploring, we're having fun. We're going into this with absolute curiosity. I love this. Thank you so much, Martina. I totally went into protective mode. I started to yawn. Oh, I love this truth. I love this truth. Okay, so let's leave all of that. Like, I curled up. So let's keep all of the resistance. Just get it out of your space for now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just all the resistance, all the pushback, all of the disapproval of your truth, get it out of your space and do whatever you need to do in this moment to not. It's like saying, don't think about elephant, right? I know, I've just made it like nearly impossible for all of us. So I'll invite us all to shift our focus. So that's gone, that's over there. We're going into that in a minute. Put it in a bucket and move the bucket out of your space. And now just feel into, I am me, I am standing here in this sacred space. So come back to our container, come back to our community, right? I said there are communities where people live from deeper truths. There are individuals who live from deeper truths. Get around those people, get in those communities, get in those spaces. And so just allow this space, if it feels right for you, allow this space to be one of those spaces that loves inner truth, that lives from inner truth, that lives from these depths, And so just being in this space, being in your own space. You may not feel comfortable being in our space yet. Might be totally new. You're like, I'm not super ready for that, Sabrina. I don't really know you or trust you, and I don't really trust this space. I absolutely respect and honor that. You then create your own space, right? It's just you. And let the body really come into a place of, I'm standing in my truth, and let the positioning happen. I know I'm taking a long time on this, but I'm just coming back to get this kind of, give us enough time to explore this so that you can explore this later on your own, right? On whenever you feel to. So we're in our positioning. And then I said I was going to share what happens in my body just to help. And this is kind of giving you different things to feel into, or different practices or tools or tips or techniques or tricks or whatever. So if you're in your own positioning, now feel what happens when you deepen your breath. Just one practice, just what happens when you deepen your breath, holding the intention of standing in my truth, accessing my truth. So everything we talked about from the start, if you just started, what we're doing is we're working on moving from living surface level and talking surface level truths, which are truths, and accessing a deeper layer of truth, a deeper layer of wisdom, really. The deeper layer of truth is a deeper layer of wisdom. It's a deeper layer of consciousness. It's a beautiful place to live from. And so we're just working on really simple things. around setting ourselves up to touch into that place. And we talked about bicycle. So we talked about it's learning to ride a bicycle. And the more that we do it, the better we are at riding the bike, right? The more that we live from that place, the easier it is to ride a bike. It becomes second nature. So how many of us ride bikes now and you don't think about it? It's just second nature. You could live on a bike. You don't have to think about the pedals. You don't have to think about your balance. You don't have to think about keeping your eyes straight ahead. You don't have to think about any of those things when you're on a bike now. That's what happens. That's what happens. We start to live from our deeper truth. And it becomes like second nature. We live it, we breathe it, we eat it, we are always in touch with it. Always in touch with it. And we live from that deeper wisdom and that deeper knowing and that deeper truth. So our lives become, they just become more full. I'm kind of skipping over like a couple of steps, but because we are more aligned and we're living from our deeper truths, we live life feels more full. We feel more full. We feel like a fullness or an alignment piece or that inflow. That's a good way of saying it. It's a good surface level way of saying it, right? No, that's a deep, true way of saying it too. But we live like in that flow. You just are you, and you live as you. Start doing that, and it just starts to happen in my body, and I want to just like move us into huge practice around flow, but I won't. So our lives, these lives, because of the framework of them, because of the container, because of the space, because they are public, because they are on YouTube, and because of the commitment level. I'm going to be super transparent here. This is one of my really big things, is being so transparent, so open, so vulnerable, so real, so true, so honest. All of the time, or as much of the time, and as deep of a truth as I can come from. All of the time that I want to share, our lives will only ever go to a certain level. And that sucks, but it's true. Our public lives, our public podcasts will only ever go to a certain level. And that's because of all of those things, because of the container, because of the commitment level of what gets co-created here, because of the public nature of this, will only ever go to a certain level. And I've really come to respect that. And I've really come to honor that. And I've really come to feel where that level is. Like, I'm sharing this because I just hit that place of, wow, here's where we could go into a practice, into a flow. If we were in a committed container, if we were in a different space, if we were in a workshop space, an online workshop space, if we were in a retreat space, if we were in a different space together, we could flow into that. But I just want to share that in case you saw that happen in my system. You're like, why aren't we going into the flow? Like, why aren't we going deeper, Sabrina? Take us into the practice. You said deep inner wisdom. Why aren't you going there? Well, this is why. This is why. I've done it many, 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 many times, and it's almost like a smack in the face that happens. It's a smack in the face. It's that old saying of, I don't want to say that. That's terrible. I'm going to say it, and you could be so offended. It's like my church word before. I'm just going to say it because I don't want to withhold anything. And if it comes, I'm just going to share it. Do not cast pearls before swine. That's my like latest, weirdest fucking saying from forever ago. But it's really, there's only a certain level of the mysteries that you can access and within certain spaces, and it's like, do not open up like these deep inner wisdom practices to those who are not mature enough or ready to go into those places. I know I've just gone off on a wild, weird tangent, but I think a lot of people ask us, Sabrina, what's the difference between a live or a podcast and a workshop? It's like night and day. It's like night and day difference. There's a completely different a level of energetics that opens up. There's a completely different level of sacred space. And while I'm here, I'm going to be here every Saturday, and I'm going to bring as much as I can, and go where we can go and where we can flow to publicly. Just know that it's like an iceberg. It's like a huge iceberg, and this is like the tiny tip of the iceberg. And the tip of the iceberg serves. If it didn't serve or it didn't feel right, I wouldn't be here doing these. I wouldn't be pouring so much juice and life force and energy into these if I didn't feel they served you and me and kind of the whole of our community and even beyond that. Yeah, that felt really important to share. That just felt really important to share as we sort of set the stage for and co-create together this new space, these new lives, this new energetic explorations that we're going to go into. Okay, so let me feel into where we can flow now. Okay, I want to talk more about what prevents us from accessing our inner truth. So we've done a couple of practices to take us deeper. We've talked about, many of us live and spend a lot of time and are wired to only go surface. Many people in our lives are really only interested in surface. Many communities, organizations, jobs, much of our atmosphere really only encourages us to go surface. And that's okay, right? Like, that's okay. It'll change when it changes. For many of us, there's a deep fear. And this is that part of let's get so real with ourselves again. So let's be okay to be vulnerable with ourselves. You don't have to share comments, although I love it. I love the shares. I think the shares deepen our space and they gift each other. So when you share, it gifts another. But to come into a place of being really, really real, really, really vulnerable with yourself. Like, I'm okay. And just say something along these lines of, I'm okay. This is another great practice for inner truth. I'm okay to see whatever the truth is. I'm okay to see that. And that oftentimes, just that in itself, when we can hold the energetics of that intention, it's not just like a talking head babbling the words. That's not going to do anything. But when you can really embody those words and the energetics behind that, I'm okay to see the truth about this situation. I'm okay to see the truth about myself. I'm okay. I'm curious. I'm going to be okay to see this truth. Oftentimes just that in itself, or words like that, you can find your own words that will help you to access deep within, can help to calm the defenses and the protections around it. So can help to sneaky back door. We talked about this at the very start. Can help us to get past old habitual ways of thinking or habitual ways, unconscious ways that we stop ourselves from going to the truth. I would love examples of this. So if anyone feels to share examples, like tangible, physical, real world examples of this, where I hid the truth. So like, this is a great example. This is very, very common. I knew the relationship was over. Like, how many of us can relate to this one? Here, I think this is a good one. I've come across the truth today that I'm fearful of intimacy with myself, not physical. This is so amazing. Okay, I'm gonna just keep going with this one. So how many of us have known that a relationship is over or a job has come to an end? Like, time at that job has come to an end. The relationship we were in has come to an end. But we don't want to see that. We don't want to fully accept that. We don't want to have to take action on that, because when we, like, beautiful beings, I just really honor that both right now for me. Like, thank you for being so open and just so vulnerable and so radically honest. Hands up. Love that, Martina. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I love these shares. I'm not going to read them out, but I just really, really love the shares, and I'm really, really honoring them. And it adds so much to our circle and so much to our space. And your share may awaken something in another, or another share may awaken something in you, or, those sorts of things. But the thing about when we see the truth and when we accept it, that deeper truth, so I'll go back to this like inner masculine healing thing that I was talking about before. Like surface level thing is, oh, my tooth hurts. Go deeper. Okay, I actually really can understand the deeper truth of what's going on. But I have to then face shame that might come around that. I'll be super vulnerable here because I think it takes our space deeper. Not that I want to like share all my dirty laundry with you, but I just want to open a space, and hopefully it helps us all to deepen in together. But for me, when that came alive in me and that deep truth comes, I have to then allow for the embarrassment that might come. I'm not saying that that's necessarily my word, or the shame that might come, or the how is it that I have gone through so much inner masculine healing and inner masculine purifying and inner masculine reclamation and right? It then, what it does is, and this is oftentimes the truth for everyone, is it then challenges our identity, right? So in a way, it can challenge identity. It can challenge your identity of, okay, well, who am I then to be holding space for the sacred union, which I hold a lot of space for the sacred union. I hold a lot of space for masculine purifying, for masculine reclamation, for the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Like, who am I to do that? Well, I'm fucking human and I'm constantly evolving, and I'm constantly becoming more and more conscious, and I'm constantly moving in that direction. So there really is no shame. There really is no embarrassment. There really is no threat to my identity, right? There really is no threat. There is a threat to our ego structure, right? Because it's how we define ourselves, or lots of times there's safety and security around it. So if I see that my relationship is over, fuck, I have been rattled. Base chakra has been rattled. Safety and security has been rattled. If I really step into this truth, I may lose the breadwinner, who's the person who's been the breadwinner for this community. I'm gonna lose this family system. I'm gonna lose this community. I'm gonna lose this home. That is extraordinarily disruptive. I don't wanna see that. I don't wanna deal with that. Right? So there's also this piece of, if I see the truth, transformation is coming, change is coming, physical change is coming. And we a lot of times say we want transformation, but there's deep parts in us that are like, no, transformation and change is really fucking scary. Like, who am I gonna be without this family system, without this relationship, without this home? How am I going to survive without this job that I know I need to quit, right? And so just being so compassionate about it, and we're talking about it so that we can bring it to the light, right? So that we can start to welcome these deep inner truths. We can start to create that way of living, right? So it becomes, we just live from that place of deep inner truth. We just live there. We live there. And we come to a place, for me, it's there is no better place to live than from that deep inner truth place. And I do not care how it rattles my world. I do not care how it challenges my ego structure. I do not care that it questions my fucking identity. I do not care. Like, to come to a place, and if you just can start to feel that in your system, like, I do not care if I've lost my relationship because of this deep inner truth, which I did this year. I do not care if I have to move across the country in the middle of COVID because I'm living from my deep inner truth. That was part of my journey this year. I do not care if I buy a home in the middle of a financial crisis in America, a retreat center in the middle of a financial crisis when I can't even run fucking retreats. That's part of my truth. That happened this year. But to live from this place of this deep, deep inner truth and this deep, 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 deep wisdom, we can't even see how it all works. That's the wisdom centers that I'm inviting us to live from. That's the deep inner truth, that divine mind. When we start to live in these deep inner truth places, what we're actually tapping into is divine mind. We're tapping into the whole web of life. We start to read the divine matrix. We start to flow with and move with the divine matrix. And we don't flow with or move with the divine matrix unless we're living our soul. So it's also, we say we want soul purpose. We say we want to live from our truth, our authenticity, those places we want to feel this fulfillment, we want to live in flow. It requires us to live from this radically honest, sort of rebellious, okay with crazy stuff happening, okay with our ego structures being challenged, okay with safety and security, which is all just made up stuff in our first and second chakras anyways, right? It's all just these weird constructs, and they start to unravel. And what starts to happen is freedom. We talk about freedom and we talk about liberation, and we want to live freely and we want to live liberated. Well, we have to liberate and free ourselves from these places and these patterns that keep us stuck, that keep telling us, you won't be safe if you do that. You know, you won't. I would not have been able to create this beautiful retreat space if I listened to those first and second chakra places, because they were not, or not necessarily first and second chakra places. If I were going to listen to my old patterning or my absorbed conditioning, right? If I was going to listen to the absorbed conditioning of the world, what the news was saying, just what my like limited small self structures would have said, that I would be living in my mom's attic in Wisconsin right now. That would be where I was at, versus having created this wildly magical, insane thing, all because of that trust. And so we go back to this place of trust, this word of trust. I was speaking the other day, and I was using 3 words, and if someone was there for this, 3 words around following our deep inner truth. 1 is accessing, 2 is trusting, 3 is acting. And if I got those wrong, someone tell me, but I'm pretty sure it was those 3 words. I may have just used like a word that's very similar to one of those words, but it's step 1 is accessing. Jazz, first time live from Edmonton. Heck yeah, welcome, woman. Access, trust, act. Thank you so much, Bianca. Glad I got the words right. So it's 3 steps. Is access that deep inner truth, like access it. And we talked about practices in this episode on how to access, right? Get in communities, get with people who live from that place, that place is always accessible. It's like someone being in front of you who has that line open. Do you see this line? Like, it's funny, I keep pointing to this line down my body because that's how it feels in my system. I know I said I was going to give you practices for how it feels to live deeper in your truth. And that's one of them. I was going to give you like characteristics or how it feels in my system just as an offering. But it's like this whole line is open. And when I feel like I'm going to stand in my inner truth and my deeper truth, it's like my center of gravity or my center of focus or my center of attention or awareness drops. It's not here, which it has to be here a lot when I'm talking to you all. I mean, it's kind of everywhere. The whole thing is sort of open, but I have to be intelligent because I'm also speaking, and I'm kind of responsible for speaking since there's no one else to speak back or to chime in when I just drop down into my... Right now, it's my 3rd chakra that lights up. So just in this moment, it's my third chakra that lights up. When I go into deep place of truth, sometimes it's my womb space that lights up. Sometimes it's my heart space that lights up. I also feel my whole body kind of goes back. I lean into my spine, or I step back. I'm not like in a forward like position. I'm more like, I'm here. So now my chair's moved, got too excited. my new seated position. Not sure if we'll do chair the next time, we'll see what happens. So let me try to bring this full circle for us back to those three. First is the access. I'm glad I hit those different places of practices or different fields or different characteristics to look for, and just experiment with those. So it's accessing. Now, the way that you access your deep inner truth will be totally different than the way that I do. For some of us, we're more visual, and we might like see a symbol. For some of us, it's a deep feel in our bodies. For some of us, it comes through in a dream. For some of us, it comes through in many, 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 many different ways. So I also want to just point that out. Is I always say, know your markers. Know thyself, know your markers. Know what it feels like when you are accessing your inner truth. How does it show up for you? Is it like clairvoyant? Is it clairsentient? It doesn't have to be a clair. I'm just throwing out a whole lot of different examples to let you feel into different things. So accessing it. And then it's the trust piece. The trust piece. It's the trusting it. And that's what we were just talking about before I kind of moved into the overall 3 different points around it. It's not just rewiring our systems to be able to access. We talked about riding the bike. The more we practice it, the easier it is. We just live from that place of accessing truth, accessing truth, accessing truth, accessing truth, right? It just becomes second nature. The next piece that has to become second nature is the trusting of it. So the next piece where we deny it, avoid it, where we sabotage our inner truth is we will block it. We will dull it down. We will dim it down. I love this. Linda, thank you so much. Trust part is hard. We will dim it down. We will dull it. We will confuse ourselves. We will rationalize it. We will talk away. We'll actually sometimes go out and seek a person who will tell us that is not our truth. Like, we will go out and find a person, have a conversation with them. So this is how wily our unconscious is. This is how like sneaky and tricky it is. We will sometimes go find the person who will tell us how fucking crazy this idea is, or this truth. Like, we will go and we will have a conversation because we know that they'll make us stay safe. We know that they will make us stay safe and stay small. They will like protect how often do you do that? Like, here's another just like truth bombing of self. Like, hold yourself to that fire. Hold yourself to that fire of, I know who to go to for what. Seriously, I will be so honest about it. I don't do it as long as I'm catching it, as long as I'm conscious of it. But I know if I want someone to really protect my like old family patterning, right? Or my safety and security, or my like, I'll go to my grandma. 100%, 100,000%. Have a conversation with grandma, and she will talk to that part of me that goes, you can't do that. Bad things will happen if you leave the family, if you don't live in mom's attic, if you leave Wisconsin, if you whatever. And I'm not at all blaming this on my grandmother. I just know that that's the alchemy between my relationship and her relationship, between our two energies. And I'm sharing the example not to call out my grandma or to talk about myself, but to give you something tangible to bite into. That's a lot of my aim too on these lives, is to not get so crazy out there esoteric-y that we can't bite into it. Like, I want us to be able to bite into it, to chomp into it, to get in there. I'm laughing because that's a line, like a rewilding line that we say a lot. Get in there. And so just, being super honest, and who knows, me speaking this and sharing this with you, you might now the next time catch yourself when you're about to pick up the phone to that like the phone a friend to keep us small, phone a friend to deny the inner truth. You might catch it and go like, ooh, I'm doing that thing that I just heard about on that live this weekend. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna just sit with my inner truth. I'm gonna sit with the uncomfort. I'm gonna sit with the fear. That's another great practice, is to just honor the fear. Like, I'm scared. Talk about it. I'm so scared. I'm so scared to buy a retreat center in the middle of COVID, in the middle of a financial crisis when there are no in-person retreats. I'm so scared. Talk about it. 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 Give it a voice. Give it a way to move. Give the fear an outlet for expression. Okay, so I'm being very conscious of time. I want to talk about the third point, the act piece, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Before I do, I want to invite you all to subscribe to YouTube. I know this is my plug for our YouTube channel, my plug for our lives, and my ask for your support. Your support in just subscribing or sharing this video with a friend or leaving comments on it. Just your support in helping us to share this with more. You know, there is no like hook, there is no nothing. We're just coming here every Saturday, hanging out, talking some truth, sharing what I can in the container that we have created here, that we are continuing to co-create together, but would love your support. And I'm not ashamed to ask for it. I'm not afraid to ask for it. I think I was afraid to ask for it before, but if I could subscribe harder, I would. I love you. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. Also, our website right now, we have two websites, sabrinalynn.com and rewildingforwomen.com. So guys, if you're like, yeah, not really feeling called to the rewilding for women thing, you can go to sabrinalynn.com. And, oh, this is exciting. Holy shit, where's Blanche? Blanche is in front of me. Blanche is a beautiful, glorious being, that plant that often shows up in videos. I'll get her in the next live for sure. This is big, crazy announcement, and then I want to talk about third, acting, and I want to give a couple of things around the acting piece. This is the announcement. I think that's where it goes. There's me protecting myself. There's the fear kicking up. So this all just unfolded and sort of happened. It's really like plays into all of this deep inner truth. This was a deep inner truth, and it's just, I watch it happen, and I just watch my brain protect itself and go like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. Totally forgot what you were going to announce. That is too good for that to show up here. Anyways, I got it. It didn't go unconscious. We have started a new Facebook group. I say that for those of you who were not in our previous Rewilding for Women Facebook group. It was a group of 50,000 women before we closed it down. And that probably gives you some hints as to why I'm like, and afraid to announce it. I'm actually really excited for this. So there's my dad. Dad, I love you. You're the best. My dad's really good with truth too. So he's a person that I could, like, when you phone a friend, I can always like phone my dad. He never tells me to not do the scary things. Dad's always like, do the scary thing, whatever it is, however weird it is. Dad's one of those like phone a friend who helps, like a support system around that stuff. So Malia, if Malia's on the call or on the live, if you could put a link to our Facebook group, that would be awesome. It's just a place to talk about things related to these lives, these shows, these episodes, and that's it. Nothing else is getting through. That's how this group is going to be very different than the last group. The last group was just this like, go for your life wild, and it was beautiful, and I loved it for what it was. We just outgrew it, or it just became kind of not aligned anymore for us to hold that space. So this is not us holding a space per se. This is us, here's a place where we can all connect, where we can have conversation around this topic. So around this topic, around other topics that we talk about, around programs, around workshops, around experiences to do with this and this only. That's how that group is very different. So super invited to join that. Now I want to talk about ACT and invite you to next week's live. So this is a 3-part series. I don't like part 1. It became podcast episode 98. So if you want to hear more on truth, you are so welcome to go find podcast 98 under Rewilding for Women. That's the name of the podcast right now. That'll change eventually, but you can go find part 1. This is part 2. I like this. I like YouTube lives because we can go deeper. That was created on an Instagram, Facebook live where it's a completely different vibe. The energetics of Instagram are they're beautiful for what they are. They don't support going deep. So I don't love that episode. So if you don't have time, don't do it. I'll be totally honest. Do part 3 though. So part 3 will be next Saturday. I want to talk a lot about acting, and I want to leave you with a couple of tips around the action piece. So the action piece is that final piece of, first, access the deep inner truth. 2, learn to trust the deep inner truth. We talked about that. 3 is the acting on that deep inner truth, and I want to dive into that. How to bring our deep inner truths out into the world, how to act from them with that resistance piece. So remember we did that little practice and we brought in, okay, here's going to be pushback. How do you speak your truth when someone's pushing back? How do you stand in your truth when someone's not approving of it? They're not accepting of it's boundaries. This is strong boundaries. This is like living in our bones. This is having spines, having a backbone. Many of us have some energetic work we can do around that piece, especially those of us who live in feminine bodies, live in woman bodies, or who had interesting births. So C-section babies often have this challenge. I know it's weird. So there's all sorts of wild energetics that we could get into around that, but it's a pretty common, it's a thing. It's a thing. Us feminine beings standing in our truth, having a no, this is our truth. And if you don't like it, I still have to speak it and I still have to act from it. And yeah. Okay, so we'll talk more about that I want to honor our time together. So practices, let me see if there's any practices between now and then. Here's a practice. Spend a couple of minutes every day between now and our next live, just doing that practice from the very start. Okay, here's how I'm feeling right now. If I were going to go a little bit deeper, here's what's a little bit deeper. Then if you even want to go, if I were going to go a little bit deeper, okay, here's what's just a little bit deeper. So just practice that. Just practice that. You just bring your awareness, your attention, your focus, your intention, all of it. Here's surface level. Okay, I'm really emotional. Yep, total truth. Love it. That's beautiful. Now if I'm going to go one layer deeper. Okay, here's what I feel at this layer. Okay, can I go a layer deeper? So that's the practice I will leave you with between now and our next live. We'll go into the final part 3 of the Truth series, and we'll talk a whole lot about the resistance piece when we feel resistance, having challenging conversations potentially, the fear that gets kicked up in us, what prevents us from acting. So maybe we've got the access piece, maybe we've even got the trust piece. The trust and the action piece are really, really, really linked. So we're going to move more away from access trust to trust action. So this was access trust. And then next episode, we're going to go trust action. We're going to live in that realm. All right. It has been awesome to be with all of you. And I'm just really loving creating this space together, really loving creating a new space, letting the new stuff come through, new lives, new community, and old too, honoring the old, honoring what was, honoring what got us here, honoring that Rewilding for Women got us here, honoring that all of you who've been here forever or have been here for a week have gotten us here. So huge love and just absolute gratitude. It's a co-creation, I wouldn't be here without you all. We wouldn't create this space without you all bringing what you bring and all of your comments and all of your words and your support. So all of the ways that you support by sharing this with others, by subscribing, by liking the video, by leaving a public comment, those are always really good and really helpful. It just helps us to reach the people that we're meant to reach. And it's really about that. It's really about that. It's not growing some wild, crazy, insane thing. It's just reaching the people that we're meant to, finding each other. So I am glad that we have found each other, and I send you so much love between now and next week. So I will see you when I see you, where I see you, and how I see you. Mwah.